This is going to be your guide to using Hisuian Goodra in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So it's really weird because I kept seeing comments from people saying, I can't wait until he reviews Hisuian Goodra. Oh man, just wait, the Hisuian Goodra guide is going to be amazing. And then they didn't elaborate any further or give a moveset. So I'm going in without any guidance, and looking at the move pool, Hisuian Goodra doesn't get some crazy Legends Arceus signature move. It actually just gets a mediocre move, because in Pokemon Legends, yeah, it's busted, and I wish this came over into the main game. Shelter raises the user's defense in addition to making opponents' moves less likely to hit the user. Now, if this gave +1 defense, +1 evasion, that would be like the greatest thing ever, and it would also keep up with like the Pokemon Legends and new signature move power creep we've been seeing, but no, just gives 2 defense. And it's actually a downgrade from Acid Armor. So we look at Shelter. Shelter only has 16 PP. Acid Armor is an old school move that has 32. So Acid Armor is just better. Why aren't we running Goodra, I guess? Well, we can compare. So with the stats, there's a little bit of a shift. You know, we have 90 hit points, 70 defense, 150, compared to 80, 100, 150. Now, Goodra's in kind of a weird spot because like 80 speed kind of matters, and maybe you hit some like speed creep tiers or something, and it wants to be like this ultimate special tank, so you go bulky into Assault Vest, you try to 2-hit KO everything, you're a 3-hit KO, 4-hit KO against like some special attackers, and maybe you find like some outspeeds and it just makes life really easy. So Generation 9 has like that weird, slower metagame that maybe Goodra could have been successful in, but no one really tried it out. And then also Paradox Pokemon Legendaries came in, and then it became extra hard for pretty much every other Pokemon to exist. And the difference with Hisuian Goodra is that we lose 10 hit points, but then we gain 30 defense. So we're more physically bulky, less specially bulky, and even then Goodra kind of struggles on some special situations, but we have Steel Dragon. So Steel Dragon, insane, one of the best type combinations, fighting ground weakness, that's it. We feel like a Ferrothorn, except instead of a 4x weakness to fire, we just have a 2x weakness to ground, which is also really nice. And then we pick up a ton of resistances. So I guess the idea is, like, you're either getting hit super effective, or for the most part, the opponent just doesn't have a strong or solid move option to use into you. But like Fairy, Dark, Ice, Dragon, you're going to see those, so you will take some neutral hits. But I guess there's like a lot of safe switch-in opportunities, or you can just avoid a lot of problems. And then with Terastallization, you can just shift around your weaknesses and just make it very hard to catch on. So sure, let's go and see what's possible with a moveset. And like, that was my thought. I'm like, okay, what do they want out of the Hisuian Goodra? Why are people jazzing this Pokemon up so much when like you max out the hit points, put some defense investment, that way like you can actually set up into your Acid Armor, maybe Curse? We'll see. And then you just get some nice bulk-based special defense, and then you win the game. So is this just like Snorlax Power Creep 2.0? Because Shell Armor, good ability if you're setting up, because one of the biggest things that'll do you in is a random crit that either changes the damage calculations or the opponent was setting up and that's the one shot, and now you don't get to play the game because they got luckier sooner. So that can be really upsetting. So like Snorlax that can't get crit. Yeah, that sounds pretty powerful. Problem is, we also don't get any way of boosting our special defense? That's not good. That's very bad. So like, yeah, at least like Snorlax can curse Amnesia. There's a lot of other Pokemon that have like curse Amnesia combos. With this, you don't have that, so it gets kind of awkward. Now, we get access to the Body Press, but then like as you break it down, well, then we don't want curse. We want not Amnesia, Acid Armor. And like, yeah, we're running this. This looks all right. You get defenses really quick. You become unkillable physically. You go Chesto Resto. Chesto Resto, I feel, is something that's been lost, because we've seen like a lot of rest sleep talking since Pokemon like Dondozo abuse it, and other setup Pokemon are like, yeah, if I can just like luck into something because I don't have sustain and I'm just a bulky Pokemon, so I'm around for 3-4 turns anyways, it's just better for me. So you can kind of set up enough and then rest, and then rest sleep talk works really well. I guess you technically get away with like Curse, Rest Sleep Talk, Ironhead, probably strong. With this, I like the autonomy that you get, and it also calls back to the old school Snorlax ideas where you rest, but by the time you wake up, you still have like at least a third of your health, so you can do another move and then rest, and then wake up, do another move, rest, and eventually you win the game. Harder on the 20-minute timer, but like still possible. And at least with Hisuian Goodra, you actually have a strong move, like 100 attack on investment, going to uninvested, yeah, that's English. Uninvested is going to be strong enough. You get stab, and like that's just fine. So this this just kind of works out. The problem is that without any special defense, you actually just get set up on against something like a Golden Go. So Golden Go actually breakdances on you, and it's not good. Maybe the flamethrower, and then it just... Well, actually, no, because special interactions are weird. So, I mean, like, calm flamethrower, but then, like, that just looks ugly and not correct. But I guess, like, you kind of need it, but not really. And then... Yeah, even though you have a rainbow amount of coverage, it doesn't really help when, like, you're trying to go into fighting something, like fighting plus another typing, and then we don't have any dark to back up into ghosts, so it's kind of rough out there. Doesn't seem that great. But it also still has, like, sweeping strength. You go into the right team composition with this, they don't have Calm Mind, if they don't have Nasty Plot, you just kind of set up and win the game, and you do it without too much worry because of the shell armor, and that sounds pretty nice. Also, it's kind of one of those things where, well, if they wall out your body press and then you can't do anything with your follow-up move, you're just playing Hippo. You're just playing Snorlax. You're just playing any other stockpile setup Pokemon, any other Iron Defense body press Pokemon, or Curse Amnesia or something. And that's also why it's nice having that Curse, because it isn't out, but now you're not gaining defenses as fast. Your body press doesn't really seem like it matters, because the reason why body press is cool is because it gives offense to the Iron Defense. But if you're gaining offense through Curse, well then, yeah, you're just better off using your moves, and then eventually hit a +6 Iron Head, and that gets kind of nasty. But there's no special defense to get there, so I don't know what the better move is on the Identity. But I mean, like, you can do this and just be like the unmovable object, and I guess it's going to be alright. Then it got me thinking, like, okay, we have really good typing on Hisuian Goodra, but like, what happens if Goodra just becomes a water type? And just goes for kind of the same stuff. I mean, I guess you can also tech in the Earthquake instead of the Flamethrower for some matchups as well. But my thought is, like, if Hisuian Goodra was supposed to be viable, then why isn't Goodra already getting play on, like, pretty much the same moveset? And if it gets bodied out by physical attackers, then you can at least go, well, Hisuian Goodra is going to be better at this. But Goodra doesn't get bodied out by physical attackers because of the acid armor, and since it has the body press, like, this should already exist right now and be doing really well, especially if you go Tera Water Sap Sipper and you only have an electric weakness, which means it's going to be better than this, kind of, because, like, again, there's enough coverage and terrestrialization and moveset options to where an opponent likely isn't going to get stuck only, like, hitting you with resisted hits. So, like, yeah, they're going to find one of the neutral hits or a super effective hit on your Hisuian Goodra, which means resistances don't really matter too much, and you just go Tera Water Sap Sipper, your Goodra doesn't have to worry about anything, and like we talked about, since we don't have any way of gaining special defense, then it just kind of seems like having those 10 hit points feels a bit better. Actually, let's go level 50 to see what the difference is. I mean, the difference, very negligible on base stats, so 197 compared to 187, literally 10 more hit points. But if you're resting a couple of times, that's a bit more effective special defense, whereas when you get 2 acid armors, physical attacks are doing an eighth of your health if they're lucky. So it feels like the defense doesn't matter, the hit points. I wish maybe Goodra got some kind of rework or stat change like we saw in previous generations, and then maybe Goodra could just be nasty. But then you have the same idea here, where it's like, you run this on Sap Sipper, you run the same thing on Sap Sipper, and there really isn't too much of a difference, except Goodra's actually faster. And I don't know, like, is there something I'm missing? I don't feel like I'm missing anything, because it's the same Pokemon with just 20 more points in defense effectively, and then it does the same things. Now, people might say, like, Life Dew instead of Rest, but the problem is, if you don't take off fast enough, then Life Dew is only offsetting the 25% they're doing, and if they terrestrialize, then, like, yeah, you're never going to get to the point where Life Dew is offsetting that, especially into special attackers. So Life Dewing it doesn't have Recover, because Game Freak knew that would be a problem back in Generation 6. They never, like, really rectified any of that. And then it's just Goodra that has maybe something else it can do on Steel. So, yeah. Like, but this still seems pretty nice and pretty solid. Careful Nature, boom, 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 that. And that made me wonder, like, if this would work, why wouldn't this work? Now, Moringa Berry isn't out, but when Moringa Berry comes out, I feel like a lot of Pokemon are going to be getting Viability. But until then, like, if you get the Apricot Berry going, because, like, let's say the opponent, you know they're going to do roughly 60% to you. It's like, all right, you Horn Leech, and then, yeah, so here's what you do. You take the hit, Horn Leech, you get back into, like, a health range where you survive, you take the hit, Milk Drink, Apricot Berry procs, and now you're at, like, 70% health. and like you're kind of ready to get going. You milk drink it back up, you bulk up, and then you start running it. Also, your Tera Water Sap Sipper so the opponent can't do anything to you. Max defense, max special defense. You get all those bulk ups in there. Horn Leech Earthquake, boom. Nothing stops you because Tropius isn't real, and it can't hurt you. So there we go. Like, that was my thought. People were jazzing up Hisuian Goodra. I don't know why. Game Freak's cowards, so they won't ever introduce any new evasion into the game. And, oh yeah, I was also kind of like, here's also what you can do with modern offensive Goodra, but it still doesn't come through. Had a damage calculation set up where it's like, okay, what does Flamethrower do into King Gambit if we're like kind of spreading it around, Modest Nature, Assault Vest? Now, a physical attacker into Goodra isn't ideal, but like the Flamethrower is a 2-hit KO onto max hit point, max attack, King Gambit, and that's a super effective non-stab hit. So this is like Goodra's bread and butter, and it shows that it barely works, and you're also taking a lot of damage back. So if Goodra isn't getting outsped, it maybe goes 1-for-1, barely a 1-for-1 plus. Has Acid Spray to kind of like melt down some tanky Pokemon, which is nice, and then it has a couple of other options. But yeah, like offensive Goodra didn't work pre-power creep and isn't really succeeding too much now. So then you kind of set up this, and then it's all the same, and maybe other Pokemon are viable. Again, Pokemon community could be fraudulent. This could actually be like super duper strong, or it's not working for a reason because it doesn't hold up with all the anti-setup, anti-tank, and just insane amounts of offensive pressure that we see in the game. So there we go, guys. Hisuian Goodra. It's Goodra. That's it.